Hello everyone, thank you for joining us in today's interview. This time we have EOS42 and EOS WTZ with us for an interview and discussion session. First, let's introduce ourselves.
So, hi, my name is Liam. I'm the head of operation of EOS42, and I mostly take care of the operation stuff in China and South America. Yep.
Yep. Hi there, guys. I'm David Packham. I'm the co-founder of EOS42. I head up strategy and community engagement globally. And yeah, I founded EOS42 with Charles Holtzkamp, who is the head of technology, back in the start of January. Then Liam joined us soon afterwards in February, along with Sean Kang, who is based out in Seoul in Korea.
Hey guys, this is Jalin. I'm a head of overseas operation and also a founding member of EOS WTZ. So we are EOS blog producer candidate and also community based in Nanjing, China. So we also have a team in US as well. So the idea is for the team here is trying to bring the two companies or all the global community together, to achieve the goal of EOS globally.
And I am Xueyuan Shi. I'm a system engineering director of EOS WTZ, also one of the founding members. I'm in charge of oversee dev incubation as well as the operation of a blog producing server. So we are glad to have EOS42 with us today. Our first question would be, why did you want to be a blog producer, and how did you come up with this idea?
Yeah, I mean, I'll take that one first, maybe, Liam. It's the way that certainly I think most people have gradually discovered EOS has been a case of it capturing their attention at some point in time. So for me, I first became aware of EOS last May in 2017, when I had a presentation by Ingrid on the potential of the system. So I started getting involved with the community in more detail last October. And my initial view was this looked like a fantastic platform to build distributed apps on. And so when I started getting initially involved, I started pulling together some highly technical people who I was meeting in the community with a view that we were going to build a distributed application of some sort. At that point, I didn't know enough or a great deal of detail about the role of block producers. So at that point, my understanding of them was that they were more akin to Ethereum miners, for example. But as I got more and more into the actual, should we say, the detail of block production, it became apparent that the role was far, far wider, that it involved a huge amount of community engagement, that there was this potential to actually give back and add value to the community through a range of different projects, that it was a much more exciting and broader role. And that's really where the driver came, that actually I could combine producing really exciting value-adding dApps for the community, and at the same time that we could form a whole business office that could serve the network and strengthen it as well. So I think what's probably slightly more unusual about EOS42 compared to some other block producer candidates is that we're an entirely organically formed, community-formed block producer candidate. So I actually just met Charles Holtzkamp by chance in one of the Telegram groups back in January. He was highly technical, and we were both getting involved in the first testnet as it was launching. My background is more in the likes of finance and asset management, and also economics. So we naturally married very well our skill sets, and it became apparent straight away that we actually could represent, both being in London, the London community well. And by that stage, I was already running the EOS London community and setting up various meetups there. So that was when we decided that I took the idea of the first project that I wanted to do, which was the leasing application, and I co-authored the Shintai white paper in February. And that's where both Liam and Sean showed just how proactive people in the community can be. They both reached out and instantly said, look, we can help you with the translation of this white paper. And it became really apparent that for any good block producer, you need to serve the entire global community. You need to be globally facing, and you need to be a diverse team. And that really was, therefore, the driver behind them becoming part of the founding team as well. And from it combines a combination of community engagement, education. It's got the potential to, in our case, we're looking at putting together an incubator that will actually bring additional businesses on, and we can maybe talk about plans for that sort of thing later. But yeah, I mean, if you look at all of that, it's far more, therefore, than just the highly technical value-added side of block production. It's almost a kind of custodian of the networks there to serve. But in a really interesting virtuous circle whereby, you know, you're reliant on votes from the token holders on the one hand, and you have to earn those, but you earn those through good behavior. And I think it's a brilliant system that's been designed, and I'm really excited to see all the different kinds of offerings you're already seeing from block producer candidates globally. You know, China is just a massive hub of innovation and entrepreneurial. And for me, it's great seeing the range of different offerings that are coming out of China too, for example, such as yourselves. And it's going to be really interesting, I think, when we have that initial election. Everybody has to remember it's a perpetual election. It doesn't stop. And we all have to therefore continue to innovate and be very, very aware of what the token holding community needs and what is going to maximize value add for them. So for me, it couldn't be a more exciting role because it combines economics. You need to be able to manage your assets in terms of the way you're paid. You need to have an understanding of software development. You need to have a detailed understanding of networks and security. That combination for me is a dream business model because it's hugely interesting. And I think that's one of the reasons, if you look at all the types of candidates you're seeing globally, you're seeing some seriously impressive people from a range of backgrounds. And that is because the role is so much broader than being a simple block producing miner like on Ethereum.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, I do see the people from the consulting side, from bank side, and also from tech side a lot. So it seems like EOS bring everybody together. I totally agree with your opinion about. I think everybody agree on that being a block producer is not only creating block or building blocks. It's more like building bring community together, and also educations, and also like an incubator to incubate dApps. So yeah, that's basically actually the reason why we want to be a BP, because actually before running for BP, we already be a content producer in China, and also we are a EOS community, one of the most influential one in China as well. So in our community, there are a lot of EOS holders and EOS Atom. So they are trying to, contribute to the community, but there is no, actually I would say no channel, or there's no way that they can contribute because there is no one to, to take care of them. So that's basically the reason we want to do that, so that we can also talk to a lot of like dApp developers as well. So I think using that way, we can put all the company together, like using the people from their technology or their, I would say their talent, from different background, like from bank, from technical, and also probably from legal as well.
Yeah, so I want to comment something on this matter. So basically what I see in the future, the role of a block producer, we might not know yet. It might be keep changing constantly, the role of BP. the community will slowly, gradually determine, the market will determine what's the real role of the BP is, right? And for now, I think the whole role of BP should be like macroeconomic level. Like you see the developer, the DApp developer, I think they will be focusing in like a more microeconomic level than the block producer, right? So, for example, Shintai, the token leasing platform, is gonna be free. It's gonna be run by the block producer. So basically, I was talking to Dave and Charlie early last week. That's I really see this idea like it works like traffic lights in real life, right? This platform the traffic lights in real life is gonna be funded by the taxpayers, the drivers. Well, and Shintai is the same concept, but it's funded by block rewards, right? By the block producer coming together, we agree to put a part of a block reward on this, right? Yeah. And it acts like a public service, right?
Yeah, because we have a separate conversation about Qintai. We can talk about it later, but we can, yeah. But I believe, I think so. Yeah, I think Qintai is more like a railroad or highway that's built by, by the whole community that could contribute to everyone, and it's toll free, right?
Yeah.
We can go deeper for the next one.
Yeah.
Yes, we so one of the interesting things is that our block producer candidate is coming from the WTZ Blockchain Academy, which when it originally started, is doing a promotion. Like we are advocating the EOS community from the very beginning, because we believe it will be the next big thing, and we've been educating and informing of our audience, the possibility of EOS it could achieve, it could do to the whole blockchain space. And yeah, that's just a little bit side information from us. Moving on to our next question. How is your testnet so far?
So we're actually involved in, I believe, well, we're involved in the Superheroes testnet, which was the earliest one created by EOS Sweden. We are also on the Jungle testnet, which is run by the Crypto Lines BP candidates. And we're also on the Arrowhead testnet for sure. And I believe we're at least on one other that Charles is probably better placed to comment on. But in terms of how they're running it right now, with Dawn 4, it's not going so well at the moment for anybody. Then we're all struggling right now to get stability, and there seems to be forking issues and various other things coming out. So that's more just a comment on where the entire community is right now rather than anything else. We've been on the testnets, as I mentioned, since January. So we've seen the evolution of EOS from a testing and block production perspective from the earliest days. And, we've been able to do stress test stable versions of it. It's been very interesting because it's enabled us to, with the likes of Phil Mesnier, who is part of Object Computing and working closely with Block One on the software development, it's enabled a lot of the block producers to give feedback on bugs being identified and other stability concerns right at the earliest stages, and it's fed into the development somewhat. But yeah, overall, the testnets are performing quite well. It's just we have some ongoing concerns right now with Dawn 4 and why we're not getting the stability as a community right now that we would be hoping for.
Yeah, sure. Let's move on to the next question. So we noticed that your team is very diversified. Could you talk about your plan of growing the community and how you will bring the global community together?
Yeah, so EOS42 I think represents the needs of a global community in one sense at this stage, which is that when you're there to serve, as any block producer is there to service a global community, and that means people from all around the world, means all cultures and different requirements in theory can be there for token holders in different areas. So to me, it is actually common sense that a block producer that has individuals from a range of different countries and cultures is going to have a better chance of serving a diversified community, a global distributed community like EOS, than say a group that's got people from all one country. Maybe they can boast about being from different areas of that country, but they're still going to have a shared perspective. Never mind the language barriers, never mind the social media barriers, the fact that, you know, with China, we have other social media platforms we need to get on. You know, you can't sit there on Telegram and think you're communicating with everybody. And that's the kind of thing that I think is becoming more and more aware now. We were aware of it from the start, which is why when Liam and Sean came along, it was a kind of case of, wow, you two are amazing, please do join us. Others, I think, have gradually looked at that and realized that they were maybe lacking, and that's the same goes for some of the big Chinese BPs too. They've been too domestically focused and have started to work out that they needed to engage further out, and it goes multiple ways with this. But then in terms of growing out the community and how we bring the global community together, well, I actually think we're doing a great job of that now. If you look back at January, February sort of time, there was almost radio silence. I mean, the only block producer from China I recall having much interaction with EOS Gravity back in those days, and EOSys for Korea. And outside of that, it was a complete case of two communities almost interacting independently. There were some of the English-speaking ones in the West on these social media channels. There were others, particularly in China, which is such a hub of blockchain anyway, and has so much token power there anyway. And if you look at where we are now, it's become vastly more integrated. You know, we've got a launch channel now with pretty much every single block producer candidate all on the same group, in a same forum, able to now communicate, getting ready for launch. And if you look at the candidates and the sorts of hiring decisions that are being made, I keep seeing now somebody pop up saying, for example, hey, I'm for, you know, a candidate I've seen for a while, and they've hired somebody to provide them with that level of engagement for Korea, for example, or something like that. So I think, and the same goes for the big Chinese block producer candidates too. The fact you're arranging something like this is a great example of how we're bringing the global community together. You know, this is an incredibly valuable service to help token holders globally understand what the different block producer candidates are and what they offer. Because one thing I think we're all can be sure of is that for a distributed system and network to succeed and thrive, we need a distributed base of block producer candidates within reason. You know, I don't think if you look at the global map of block producer candidates, I think it's pretty obvious you're going to see some substantial hubs in the likes of China and the US. But you kind of can't have it just split in those two countries. You need to have a good, diverse positioning. And I think token holders understand that too. And we'll probably see that in the likes of the election results. But then if you look at the other ways of bringing together the global community, for me, it's about the value add back after launch. So if you look at the sorts of projects that are being launched, for me, a block producer's single biggest value add should be, how do I add value to the EOS token? That is the part of the virtuous circle. So if what I'm producing will make EOS stronger, that actually, for me, is going to be at the heart of the decision making. So bringing the global community together, therefore, is about understanding what the needs are in the different regions. They're probably pretty closely and mutually aligned, but we already have, for example, a big project that we're looking to launch after after we launched the network, and it's a globally focused one. If anything, the countries that will benefit most from it will be in Asia, actually, as it happens. But I kind of can't go into the details of that until we propose it. So I'll have to just sort of leave a cryptic comment there rather than going into detail.
Yeah. So as you just mentioned, I think we also noticed that from different community, people actually the need actually are slightly different. Actually, we do see that because people from different background, even have different philosophy, so that they think of this community like slightly differently. So that's why we are trying to do here as well. So holding this interview, and also like Xu and myself, we are in US, so we are trying to build this community together. And also we have Joy from UK. She's working with us to trying to bring the global community together. I think by doing this, not only for the EOS community, right? Because I think this is actually the first time for a lot of people they are able to talk to the people from the other countries or speaking other languages and trying to understand each other, like improve the mutual understanding. I think that's not only for this EOS community, but also for the whole global community is a very contribution. And also, I think you guys is going to a meetup trip in Asia soon, right? This month.
Tulip,
Sorry, go on, Liam.
Tulip. Yeah, I think Tulip San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, but in terms of Asian ones, as soon as we launch, it's top of my priority list for sure. I want to get out. I mean, the EOS London meetup was quite big. We had some quite high-profile attendees, and Larry Ma from EOS Canon came all the way out to give a speech. And the main focus of that was about the EOS community in China, beyond just the Canon community, but a much wider range. And that was part of an educational speech to help the audience better understand the growth of EOS in China as well. And I think, for me, there is no substitute for coming out in person and meeting other people. So it's going to be one of the top priorities for me, and hopefully, Liam, you're coming with me on some of them, which is that, yeah, absolutely. I'd love to attend one of your meetups in the future. And you mentioned Joy actually being in the UK. It would be great for a future EOS London one if she can attend that as well. So
yeah, cool. Because so right now we are just like holding meetup in China. So we already hold the third one. I think right now is our third one in Changsha. So we hold one in Nanjing, one in Wuhan, and this one is in Changsha. We have three more actually in Guangzhou, Shenzhen, and Beijing. But this is not just it, right? So we are trying to be a global BP. So after the election or after launch, we probably will. I already talked to the founder, like to have a tour in US and probably in UK as well, trying to like bring the global community together. So that should be the purpose. Yeah, if you come to China, definitely come to visit us, and we can hold a meetup together. I'm sure that our community will be very happy to see you guys there.
Yeah, and actually, you're mentioning something quite interesting. I mean, if you look at a lot of the block producer candidates initially, and it probably came from EOS New York being one of the biggest early candidates to emerge. They obviously staked their presence being in New York, and a lot of other candidates tended to follow. But really, if you look at the global decentralized nature of a block producer, really what we're now seeing is that a lot of them have got a major presence organizing meetups in a given city. So as is, for example, London. But you're right. I kind of see that in the future as block producers. It will almost be facilitating other candidates coming over and being involved in communities in that area and helping that happen, rather than it being over-focused on any one place or city. So I think you're right. And yeah, we'd love to come out. Sure.
Yeah, I think we shouldn't just think of, for example, you are in London, you shouldn't just think of that you put a flag on London, right? you're a global BP, so you can go everywhere and cooperate with everybody. I'm sure that the whole community and all the BPs welcome that. Like for the EOS New York, I live in New York, so I always go to their meetup. So that's one example of the cooperation, right? So
yeah.
And so this question is actually just from me. I'm just curious. So so why 42 the name?
Oh, you should. You know, there's a few theories on that one. I mean, one is, for example, that to launch the network, you need 42 block producers. So you need 21 for launch, and then immediately they have to stand down, and you need another 21 for the to take over while the elections kick off. But that's actually not the reason. We actually were having a debate at the time about whether or not we should call ourselves EOS London, and we didn't think it was really appropriate for exactly the reasons I've just talked about. We just felt that you're here to serve a global distributed community. We're not just about London. So Charles, being quirky and with his sense of humor, he just suggested 42, which from a book called The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is jokingly referred to as the meaning of life. It's a long story as to why, but he said now we have not just the answer 42, but we have the question, which is EOS 42. And it made me laugh, and I said, you know what, it's as good a name as any for a block producer, and it will be absolutely fine for us. And that was actually how we decided to name ourselves. We didn't overthink it. We just came up with a name that was short and catchy enough, and that was it.
Yeah. Also, because the last time I attended a meeting and I wear our T-shirt EOS WTZ, and people ask me that, "Are you EOS the witness?" Like we had.
Is that what they said?
Before.
Yeah.
I'm just saying now is WTZ stands for Wang Tuanzhang, which is our founder and also the name of our original channel. So which is very popular in the original, because we know by that. So we just name for that name, because we're trying to not limit ourselves to one region, right? So even though I think the EOS community name after a region, they do not really want to be in that region. They want to be global. The name is just for their headquarters or where they are located or they started. That's it. But we even that we don't want people to think that way. So I think we know for Wang Tuanzhang, so we just go with WTZ, not witness at all. That one.
So yeah, sounds good. Let's move on to the next question. So EOS42 is the first block producer candidate that posts their own draft constitution. Could you talk about other contributes you have made to improve community governance?
Yeah, I mean, aside from the Constitution, which seems to have been more commonly referred to now as Code of Conduct, but it's semantics on the name. The way that we positioned ourselves quite early on was to try and add thought leadership wherever we could. So there was a big open debate earlier on about whether or not paying for votes was a valid and acceptable or not. In some blockchains, vote payment is completely acceptable. In others, it is outlawed and not allowed. And it was an interesting debate that we took part in very actively on both the governance channels and publishing out our own views on this, around the fact that the way DPoS systems work is that they are designed to try and encourage token holders to make informed votes. And by informed, I mean for the best block producer candidates that will add value and support the network. So when you add in payment, direct payments, what you do is you distort that mechanism, and people start to vote for their own financial gains in the short term, not the long-term benefit of the network in the long term. It's not always, it's a gray area, and there are always going to be differing views. It goes back to what you were saying before about, in any region of the world, we're going to get different perspectives, and it was a good, healthy community debate. Another one that we certainly provided input on with regards to community governance was around block producer candidates themselves and whether or not they needed to be oversighted in some capacity. So I work in my previous work was in the financial services industry in banking and asset management, and I come from a background where I saw banks, for example, behave very, very badly in ways that damaged the financial system and the livelihoods of a much wider range of people. And they did that through, they were not properly oversighted. They merely told everyone they were acting fine. And it became only apparent when there was a big credit crisis that impacted the entire world that actually these people couldn't be trusted. So my instinctive reaction when I looked at the block producers, particularly before we saw the likes of the 1% reward cap, was that actually there was potential here for actors within the system over time, not so much the individuals who are here now and launching, because I think a lot of us are here for very honest and the right reasons. But over time, you could see a system that could get corrupt, where block producers could start colluding, and they could start making decisions under the surface that the wider community were not aware of, that were slowly damaging EOS. So we proposed, for example, some sort of bounty fund that could fund that. Actually, that need for that has gone away by virtue of the arbitration system and the arbitration network that is now being worked on and developed out by the likes of Thomas Cox and Moti. Because in theory now we have such powerful controls and penalties that can be applied to block producers. In theory, their entire token holdings could be frozen and confiscated. But to my mind, there is just such a powerful disincentive for bad behavior by them that it's very unlikely we're going to see it, I think. But again, those are two examples there of where we've been contributing to the community governance debate. And what's been so good about it is that you will have seen candidates globally in giving input in these debates. More and more have been coming onto these different forums. The likes of EOS and EOS Go, again, are really, really good for this and enabling people to express views. And it's by that we as a community gradually reach consensus on these things.
Yeah, actually, we do see that the EOS community governance is one of the best for right now all the communities, right? Because we see that it have its own constitution and it have a lot of regulations like saying that what BP can do, what it cannot do. So that's basically I totally agree. So we totally agree that we should all follow the constitution and also post our code of conduct even more restrict than the constitution, right? Like the code of conduct we're going to post today. So it's just saying that we are going to do more than what the constitution asks us to do, because we have to self-discipline, right, and self-control. So that's how we can make the real contribution to the community and to build a healthy environment. For example, paying for vote, right? If that is allowed, everyone will be just focused on how to manage payment to get voted or get elected, instead of how to what we are doing here, how to incubate steps, how to educate the communities, how to bring community together to get more exposure and to get vote. So this is totally different way. I would say the later one will be much more beneficial for the whole ecosystem.
Yeah, the whole paying for vote scheme, I think since last January when Gravity brought it up, and then New York, and that's what sparks the whole community to talk about this whole topic, which is still pretty hot. I think paying for vote is bad, and I lived in Venezuela before, South America. That's a whole example why paying for votes is really bad, because whenever an election is near, the government will just pay this is a real life example, right? The government will just pay the people to go on campaign. So the people will just, okay, get the money, we're gonna campaign for you. Easy money, right? You just show up, and then it created a whole lazy community. It created a lazy society, because the token holder will just think, okay, someone is gonna take care for me. If I vote, I'm gonna choose whoever give me the most reward, and I don't even need to think is this guy is gonna do good or they're gonna do bad in the future, right? And it creates like this whole trend of people that is gonna not think for the future, right? I think that's why paying for votes is bad.
Yeah, guys, thank you again for joining us in this interview. It's been a great interview.
Yeah, me too. My pleasure. Thank you.
Yep. Pleasure to talk to you guys.
My pleasure. I look forward